So, today we're going to take a look at something really fascinating that's been making the rounds online. It's a fictional national anthem for a so called British Socialist Republic. We're going to break down the lyrics verse by verse and really unpack the story it tells. And believe me, it's a story that starts in one place and ends up somewhere completely and shockingly different. Right off the bat, the chorus hits you with this famous, almost idealistic phrase. It's designed to immediately set this tone of fairness, of equality, a society built on looking out for one another. It's a really powerful and, let's be honest, familiar starting point for any kind of revolutionary vision. All right, so let's dive into the first part of this thing, where the early verses really start to build out this vision of a perfect society. So the opening verses, they really paint this picture of a republic where all the old struggles are finally over. The language is all about liberation, breaking chains, ending exploitation from landlords and bosses, and making sure that the basic stuff, shelter, health, food, is guaranteed for everybody. And this is the crucial part, right? It's how the anthem frames its whole mission. It's not just about building some shiny new future. It's about correcting the injustices of the past. The idea that the very tools of the old oppression, these mills, are now repurposed to serve everyone, well, that creates a really powerful moral argument right from the get-go. Okay, so moving on, let's see how this thing builds its case. It does it by connecting to real-world British history, almost claiming a kind of revolutionary destiny for itself. And what's really clever here is how the lyrics intentionally weave this thread through actual British labor history. By name-dropping groups like the Diggers, the Chartists, and events like the General Strike, the anthem isn't just presenting itself as a song. No, it's presenting itself as the ultimate fulfillment of centuries of struggle. And boom! This line from the third verse just perfectly sums it all up. It takes all these little historical fragments of protest and struggle and boils them down into one powerful idea. Organization equals strength, and that strength is the key to finally overcoming all fear and oppression. Okay, so up to this point, the anthem has been building this case for a workers' utopia, right? It's all based on history and justice. But this is where the tone shifts, abruptly and violently. The song stops being about building a new world and starts being about destroying the old one. So, who exactly is standing in the way of this perfect new world? Well, the anthem doesn't leave you guessing. The fourth verse, which it literally calls the purification verse, gives you a very specific and very long list of enemies who have to be eliminated. First up on the hit list, the classic pillars of the old establishment. The anthem calls for the literal execution of the monarch. And it doesn't stop there. It wants the complete eradication of organized religion, calling it a Christian lie, and ordering the destruction of every cross and every mosque. But, the purge doesn't just stop with these old institutions. It immediately expands to include the entire mainstream political spectrum. In this new republic, there is absolutely no room for dissent or different ideologies. They're all just branded as treason. And this is what shows you just how ideologically extreme this thing gets. It's not just about broad categories of people. It literally names specific individuals from both the left and the right, both contemporary and historical. They're all just lumped together as revisionist trash who deserve to die. And this line, wow, it's the chilling conclusion to the whole verse. There's just no ambiguity here. The solution it proposes for dealing with any and all opposition, whether it's political, religious, or ideological, is violent execution. The utopian dream is now explicitly built on a foundation of sheer terror. So after laying out this just brutal internal purification, you'd think that's it, right? The vision is complete. But no. In the final verses, the scope just explodes outwards. It transforms from a national revolution into a project of global domination. I mean, this fifth verse, it reads almost like a military blueprint, a step-by-step plan. It talks about legions marching across the world, destroying all borders, and imposing their ideology by force. The goal isn't just a socialist Britain anymore. It's a global empire under a single eternal rule. And you can see this transformation from, national liberation to global conquest perfectly in the final chorus. Notice how the lyrics are tweaked, but in a really powerful way. This sovereign land becomes this sovereign land or any other land. And the line, has freed us all, gets twisted into shall rule the world. That initial promise of freedom has completely morphed into a declaration of dominance. And the outro? Yeah, it leaves absolutely no doubt about the final vision. You have these choirs shouting declarations of total victory, imagining a world where their flag flies everywhere from London to Beijing, from Washington to Moscow. It's a vision of complete and total ideological and military conquest. Okay, so what are we supposed to take away from all this? Let's just do a quick recap of the really dramatic journey this anthem took us on. So we've seen this really clear and kind of chilling progression, haven't we? The anthem kicks off with what seems like a noble promise of equality and justice. It roots that promise in real history, but then uses that as justification for the violent elimination of all dissent. And finally, it just escalates into a full-blown fantasy of world domination. Now, look, this anthem is obviously a fictional piece of media, but it's a really powerful illustration of how easily these grand utopian visions can be twisted to justify the most extreme and totalitarian ends. It really leaves us with a critical question, not just about this song, but about the stories we tell ourselves and the very real dangers that can lurk inside them.